Days before Title 42 expires, migrants are among those killed in a crash in front of a migrant shelter near the southern border. Now, right now, hundreds of people are lined up at the border, and this is nothing compared to what we're going to see on Thursday. On May 11th, that is when Title 42 expires. The Biden administration deploying more than 100 troops, actually 1,500 troops, to help with the surge that's expected when Title 42 comes to an end. But even the Homeland Security Secretary admits we won't see the effectiveness of their policies, at least not yet.
We've been preparing for this for more than a year and a half. It's going to take our plan a while to really take hold, for people to understand that they can access lawful, safe, orderly pathways before they reach the border.
Concerns are growing, obviously, as migrants are expected to continue to flood the border after Title 42 is lifted. But Hakeem Jeffries believes Biden has it all under control. No need to worry, folks.
I do believe the administration is prepared. Steps are being taken to make sure that there is order at the border.
However, Governor Abbott begs to differ. He thinks Biden's plan is too little, too late.
Because President Trump sent soldiers to the border to secure the border. President Biden is sending 1,500, quote, soldiers to do paperwork. And that's not going to secure the border. We need not 1,500 soldiers. We need 15,000 or 150,000 to secure the border because of the open border policies of the Biden administration. This is a day late and tens of thousands of soldiers too few.
Absolutely. And first of all, there would not be need to send 1,500 troops to the border had the president kept Title 42 in place. So the fact that they're sending the troops to the border is the president's way of admitting this is going to be a real mess. And we're going to now have to make up for not reinstating Title 42. It's almost like you see that it's a problem. You're trying to fix the Band-Aid, and it's obviously not going to be enough, as Abbott just said.
And Abbott's right when he says, I don't want troops at the border. I don't care how many there are, because I know what they're going to be doing. They're going to be doing some kind of humanitarian work and setting up these encampments, and they're going to, be marching people to their immigration lawyer so that they can come into the country this way. This is why we know Mayorkas is lying when he says there are orderly pathways into the country. Everyone knows the easiest way to get into the country is this way, is the illegal way, because we have these lawyers that are down there, and we have our asylum system that's being taken advantage of. We know the easiest way to get in is to just come in, claim asylum, get yourself a lawyer. They release them in the country. So the whole system is set up to fail. And when he says there's an orderly way to get in the country, yeah, that's for suckers. Everyone knows that's not the way to get into the country from the southern border. Yeah,
Kyrsten Sinema, the Arizona senator, basically says that the Biden administration didn't prepare for Title 42 to end. Ooh, you think? Watch.
The Biden administration had 2 years to prepare for this and did not do so. And our state is going to bear the brunt. And migrants will be in crisis as soon as next week. It will be a humanitarian crisis because we are not prepared.
I mean, top Democrats, Lisa, telling people not to worry is kind of like saying Kamala Harris is in charge of the root of the problem. Don't you worry. She'll get you an answer sometime, maybe in the next century.
Well, yeah, and I care more about my American people than I do about the plight of the migrants, to be perfectly honest. And, Senator Bob Menendez said that we shouldn't be militarizing the border with 1,500 troops. That's exactly what we should be doing. This is our country. We're supposed to be a sovereign nation. We're supposed to be in charge of our borders. But we're not. And then now we have one of the last enforcement mechanisms, which is going to expire because Joe Biden got rid of everything else. What did he do when he first took office? Halting deportations, getting rid of Remain in Mexico, not wanting to build a wall. And this is one of the last remaining things. And the border chief tweeted that in 1 week alone, we have 55,000 border apprehensions, 18,700 getaways, which are really just letaways because they're allowing it to happen. And then you've got something like 138 pounds of fentanyl when just a tip of a pencil is enough to kill someone. So, they want this. And that's the frustrating thing about talking about this, because we know nothing's going to change until we get Joe Biden out of office. You got to get a Republican in there or it's never going to change. They just don't care. They want this.
Yeah, and the fact that they actually are still trying to sell the border as being under control is just a lie and a slap in the face of the American people and also of the American taxpayers.
Yeah, and you know, and it's like what Tom said yesterday about Title 42. You know, the reason we want to have the border is not because of COVID. The reason we want to have the border is because we're a country, and you kind of have to have like a border, and you have to kind of choose who you let in and who you don't let in. But you know, and then you know, we get these lectures from these same people who are blowing through the border about like democracy and rule of law and stuff like that. Well, if you don't like the laws that are in place regarding our border and then go and change the laws. Elect enough people to Congress to change the laws, but they don't want to do that because they know it's wildly unpopular among voters.
Or they tell us that Ukrainians have a right to defend their borders, but then we don't, I guess.
Yeah,
and we have an obligation to do it.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.